Welcome to Purpose with Pals, your go-to podcast for unlocking life's true purpose. Join us as we dive deep into the compelling life narratives of guests from all walks of life. Your host, Pals, will guide you on your own journey of self-discovery.
I'm your BFF pals, and I'm here to bring you incredible guests who will help you decode the purpose of your life. Let's embark on this journey together and discover what truly drives you. I'm super excited to have Supriya on the show today. You might remember Supriya from her Shark Tank pitch for her brand Leafy Affair. I'm a big fan of floral jewelry myself, and I can't wait to get to know more about Supriya's entrepreneurial journey. Welcome to the show, Supriya.
Hi, Palak. Super excited to be here.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Supriya first. Thank you, Supriya, for joining in. Supriya is the founder of the brand Leafy Affair. It is a floral jewelry brand with the vision of becoming India's biggest botanical lifestyle brand. Supriya has always had a love for nature, including plants and animals, and that is why she pursued BSc and MSc in biotechnology. But before we go deeper into and get to know more about Supriya and her journey, let's just understand how the today's episode is structured. So, in today's episode, we will understand her journey from being a project manager to being the founder of her own startup, Leafy Affair. We will talk about the major milestones in her career journey, and we'll also try to do a Shark Tank pitch with her, like a mock pitch with her, and we will talk about how she bootstrapped the startup, and so lots of learning coming your way. So stay tuned, and I think, Supriya, let's start with your Shark Tank pitch and give a little bit of a flavor.
God. Okay, so you want me to pitch it again?
Yes, yes.
I hardly remember it also because it's all in Hindi and I'm a South Indian. And even when I did the pitch, I had to practice it like for 2 days continuously. Like before the shoot, right? I'm just getting ready, showering. I'm like, sharks, क्या आपको याद है बचपन की वो छोटी छोटी खुशियाँ blah 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 blah. So I'm just going on practicing it. Wow, I can't believe I still remember it. But yeah, do you really want me to say the whole thing?
Yeah, just say one or two lines, because I think
Okay.
like it is interesting that it was in Hindi and you are trying to tap into an emotion that like led you to this journey, and that's what we'll get into later. But yeah.
Okay. पलक पलक क्या आपको याद है बचपन की वो छोटी छोटी खुशियाँ पास वाले पार्क से फूल चुराना टच मी नॉट पत्तों से लुका छुपी खेलना डैंडेलियन सीड्स को फूक मार के उड़ाना या सिर्फ हरे ग्रास पर लेटकर खुला आसमां को देखना yeah, that's what I remember. Rest of it I remember in English. What if we could, bring these little memories and design it to you in a way you can keep it close to your heart and cherish it. What if that's what we do at Leafy Affair? So that was the pitch about.
Wow, amazing. So now tell me a little bit about your process of like working on this pitch. What is how difficult or easy was it for you to like prepare that pitch, and what all went into that? Like
See, it's like whenever we do like a work presentation or like a pitch, you prepare for it a day before, 2 days before, right? But this, for me at least, the story is completely different because they start taking their auditions and like the whole application process starts like around May or June. From that very point until it aired, I all the time it was like in my head some or the other kind of preparation, like multiple discussions with my mentor and understanding what I need from this and what I will use the funds for, or what is my main goal. And it changed my whole perspective and mental setup, I would say. This months of preparation actually helped me take the startup to a next level, whether or not I actually get the funding. So it started with me just filling in the application form. Because I was a part of the IIMB cohort, I was getting incubated at IIMB. It was very helpful. I had this entire community, and a lot of other startups from IIMB were applying, and they were also on season one, etc., etc. And then I went ahead and did the first application, and then even in that, the next round I was supposed to submit a video pitch, and that was supposed to be in Hindi. That was a struggle as well, but it had a lot of English Hindi mix. And the goal was simple, to kind of tell them the story, why Leafy Affair, what is Leafy Affair, what will it do to you, and as in what Leafy Affair brings for you. And what are we doing, because as you see, most startups, they're solving big problems, right? The problem statement itself, it's not like I am solving some drought or something like that. It's more to do with passion and the little joys of life. um, in this world of filled with, just a lot of screen time, and being indoors and kind of being couch potatoes. You bring that little piece of nature from outside, and you relish it, right? So it's a very small thing we're trying to do with our products, and building that story. I mean, in a few words, it was a wonderful experience. I think I could taste the fruits of it as well. It did not go in vain, thankfully, of all the effort. It was a beautiful experience, starting from preparing for it, shooting, getting selected, and then not knowing whether or not I'll get aired, and then finally getting aired, and then the kind of recognition, the kind of I mean, even just the usual friends and relatives, but the way they were looking at me after Shark Tank was very different. So that validation and the kind of support we got from the whole of India, the orders, the messages, the requests, so that was beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Supriya, we'll get into, like, more details of how did you pitch, what specific, like, things that you went in thinking about it. But I want to go a little bit more towards your early influences and understand a little bit about, like, because you started your pitch with that act of going to a park and, like, plucking flowers, and that, like, going back to that innocence and that interaction with the natural environment. So tell us a little bit about, how did you grow up, what was your childhood like?
Right. So I grew up in a middle class family, and so my mom also used to help my dad with business, and she used to also, like, I think my family has been very entrepreneurial. Um, Back in my childhood, I don't think we were doing very great financially, so my mom used to contribute, and she knew knitting, she knew how to make like toys, like these fur dolls, and then she used to make them, she used to sell them in stores. And then somehow she is someone who loves gardening. She used to get plants. Like now, if we want to have a garden, we go buy it at nursery, right? So back then we would just go on these walks, and then you see a plant in a neighbor's random person's house, and then you exchange cuttings. That was the thing back then. So I've seen her do that. And then I've always had this soft corner towards nature, like, oh, nature is the thing that's going to sustain us forever, the humankind. And I was tech averse and all of that. That's it about my childhood. And I wanted to also study something related to plants, animals, and then I wanted to get into research and become a scientist, and figure something out with biotechnology, all of that. But that's about it. That's one part of childhood. But then as I went through, it's more of the journey, right? Like when I was in college, I figured out I'm really good with marketing. That also I figured because I was a part of a club, and then I brought in some sponsorships. I mean, that's nowhere related to what I study, but then I kind of realized I am street smart, and then I'm good at marketing, and there's something that I enjoy. And then just after that, hop, skip, jump to this. That's how I got here. Yeah, I think for an entrepreneur, it's more than one thing. It's multiple things. And my journey, somewhere along the journey, I've picked up those multiple different things. And once I started Leafy Affair, I have learned so much more. And it's been now 8.5 years. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did, and I think it kind of like from like growing up, like you mentioned, your mom had like love for nature, and then you also kind of picked that up a little bit. So tell
Yeah.
me, how did that transform into the startup that you have today, and like what was that journey of starting the startup? How did the idea came about, and how did you start working on it?
See, two things that stood out for me, and when I was a little girl, I was super ambitious. I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to earn a lot of money. That's that ambition part, and then there is this somewhere in the corner, the love for nature. Okay, it's not like, oh, I want to do something really for nature, and then I go searching for it, and then I found this. It's not like that. It was like at the back of my mind, I had this, and biotechnology as a stream, it was not doing great. Even now, I don't think there are like a lot of opportunities. So I just grabbed whatever placement opportunity I got. I was like this program coordinator at a company in Hyderabad, and then I became a project manager, moved to Bangalore. It was a startup. I learned so much there. It's completely unrelated, but these were all of these roles were like more managerial, or how to handle tasks, how to get projects done, how to interact with people, how to find vendors, or how to get work done. What are your things that you kind of maybe negotiate, and how to do a QC, just those little things. And then I bumped into this book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Okay, and also the book The Rich Dad Poor Dad. These two books were suggested by my mentor. He's still my mentor, but he was a co-founder at the place that I used to work at. And that was my starting point to understand, hey, if you want to do big, you need to learn a lot. Okay, so I've always loved learning. Even now, every day I look to what can I learn, something new, right? And that learning, I realized, comes from something you do on your own. It doesn't have to be a business. It can be a small muse, a project that you do outside of your work. Just don't limit yourself to your work. I understood your job can become a easy comfort zone in which about 90% of people spend even today. In the beginning, as soon as your college job becomes difficult, yeah, because in college you're like 9 to 4 or something, but then here you work like 8 hours, 10 hours. But then the money and the weekend little joys, or little fun things that you do becomes your comfort zone. And then so I became aware about how I cannot be comfortable in the comfort zone, and I have to start something outside of it. And then I was just, it could be anything, right? And then I had multiple ideas. Every other day, I would get a new idea. I would sit with it. I would like think about it 2, 3 days, and then I would go about how to execute it, and I would just eliminate it. And then one random day, I actually read about terrarium jewelry on a newspaper, because you have that section that talks about trends all over the world. This was not even big in India. It was there some other country, and what terrarium jewelry is. And I had studied about terrariums, and it is plants. And I'm in general a creative person. I really liked wearing junk jewelry back in college. So it felt like the puzzle pieces fit in perfectly. These are like small little things that can try it out, and it had flowers in it. It had a bit of nature. You're preserving nature, and it's something to do with the creative thing. And it also looked like something. I didn't need like a huge capital to start off. I needed to first figure out what this is, how to do it, why is it not there in India. I mean, there were so many questions. So this was Leafy Affair was completely born out of curiosity. I wanted to know what this is. I wanted to know how to do it. I wanted to know where to get things from. I wanted to know what can we do with it. Like, question after question after question, and then multiple research sessions, and then a lot of failures as well. And then finally, I made 10 pieces. I took about 2 months. Meanwhile, I had, the first thing I did was figure out a name, because I need a name. and then buying the domain. Somehow I knew back then also it was a thing that you figure out a name, and domain is like a most precious thing. You need to buy the domain. I bought it, never really did anything about it, and that's it. And then I got a small logo designed, and then created a Facebook page. Facebook, back then it was a thing. Instagram page, and then just put it out there. Created some payment gateway links. It was not, nothing was all connected. I would just like put that link. If somebody wants to order, they can just put their address and buy it from here. That's where it started. And 8.5 years later now, I mean, we dispatch like hundreds of thousands of orders on a daily basis, weekly basis. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe this all worked out.
Wonderful. So interesting that your curiosity led you to where you are, and you followed that through. And tell me about like how it has been so far. Like because what kind of products were you making when you started? What are
Hmm.
you doing now? How has it diversified or changed over time?
We haven't had big pivots, I would say. First, I started with terrarium jewelry, where I used to use a lot of preserved moss only, and there were like these tiny glass bottles with tiny corks. With it would look like a little garden inside, but it was super tiny, like about 2 centimeters in width and height, something like that. And then slowly moved to preserved floral jewelry, preserved botanical jewelry. That's what we do now. And along with jewelry, we have stationery, and we have other things, combs, hair clips. We are slowly adding in categories, but then we have so many more designs. We have about 200 designs now. Uh, so yeah, we're just slowly expanding in that niche itself.
Wow. So what would you say were your like, turning points or major milestones and
Yeah,
through
yeah. So I think we've had quite a few turning points. The first one I would say is back then these giveaways were just a small thing. Okay, we're talking about 2016. Instagram was all about aesthetics. It was kind of like Pinterest, and you just post nice aesthetic pictures. There was no carousels, there were no reels, and giveaway was not a thing. Influencers, there was no word called influencer, but I knew this friend of mine who was in college, who was in a dance club, and she writes well. She used to write blogs, and it's nice, like the way she does storytelling. So I just got in touch with her. I said, "See, I'm starting this. I don't even know her well, by the way. I just know she is from my college." I got in touch, and then I told her, and then she actually did a beautiful shoot and then put it out there. That was the first thing that I did. And then that kind of spread the word a bit, not much. And then I was doing a lot of flea markets. That was my first entry point to kind of, sell out there. And then there was this flea market in Kochi. It's a pretty famous one, and they were doing celebrity hampers, meaning about they were to make sure they all come to the celebrities come to the event. They would give them hampers with products of different stall people, like the stall brands, and basically I had to give out like free products, about 15 to 20. See, these things in the starting point, it's very difficult, right, to give away free stuff when you're like hardly making
yeah,
anything.
yeah,
But it's a hit and miss. I took part in that. I put my products, and one actress, her name is Ahana
Mhm.
Krishna. She's like big in down south in Kerala, and so the dandelion seeds apparently, like for Kerala, it is something very nostalgic because it's very common, and a lot of people like they've played with it in their childhood. So, she put a story. It was just a story. She said, it's called Appupan Tadi in Malayalam. That means grandfather's beard, dandelion seeds. That's what it's called. She just wrote that name, and that's it. Oh my God. I had so many messages, and I had like some 20, 30 pieces of that design. Everyone asking me about the same. And then I did not have stock. But then that was my first turning point, right? And then multiple like that, and then I did a giveaway, and then there was this again. It was somebody from Kerala who was so I mean ambitious about winning the giveaway that she spread the word, and there it kind of it grew there, and slowly, one by one, I think it happened. But the next big turning point was Shark Tank, for sure. That did to our brand what nothing else could have done. Like the kind of exposure we got, the kind of marketing, it was amazing. So yeah, and I think it's many small turning points which you might fail to recognize, but I think every other thing helped, like the kind of team members we've had over the time, the learnings, every interaction with a prospective customer or a networking session that I would go to, the people that I meet, the customers who I meet, and people buying, everything's turned out into something. So yeah.
Okay, okay. So tell me about your, say, focus areas through these time periods. So were you focusing more on getting the product right initially, and then you moved more towards, you did say that you had like a went for marketing as well. So were you trying, like, what were your, like, kind of focus areas? Were they different throughout these years, or how did you go about, like, strategizing, and
Hmm.
even in terms of allocating budgets for these things?
Yeah, see, what happened is 2016 I started. Up till 2019 or 20, I didn't even properly start to market it, as in run ads and stuff. The first 3 to 4 years just went in building customer awareness, just going to flea markets and trying to sell online as well, and then keep that social media active. I did not have like really big goals that, oh, by the end of this year, I want to make this much revenue or anything like that. And I think I had the luxury of time. That was one of the most important things, because I was 24 when I started back in 2016. And I did not have a lot of responsibilities, or I was staying with my parents, and it's not like I had to pay rents, or I did not have too many expenses to take care of. Whatever savings I had from my previous job. So first 6 months I moonlighted. I worked at a job. I worked at my 9 to 5 and also worked on my idea. And then by the time I left my job, this leafy of, I mean, I could sell like 10 to 12 pieces per month. It was giving me around 10,000, something like that, basic. And then I quit, right? And so whatever was coming from the business, I would put it back. It was not like I had big savings as well, because the last salary when I quit my job, it was for LPA. Okay, so like hardly
Okay.
30,000, right?
Yeah.
And after I started Leafy Affair, maybe 6 months I would have worked, so not much of savings. So whatever was coming from Leafy Affair, I would put it back, and also I would take care of my basic expenses. So when you say budget, when you're bootstrapping, there's not much budgets anyway, right? Like it's you do the most important thing, the money goes for the most important thing. I did not add any extra money, so I think overall my initial investment would have been over the span of like 8 to 10 months 75,000, but I started it with 25,000. That's about it. I never put any more new money. It was all kind of going back into the business. So that's what I did. And focus areas over the time. So the first 3 4 years, 3 4 years, I did not really focus on like revenues and all, because I was understanding. So as I told you, first when I started, it was for the reason that I want to learn, and I wanted to do something outside of my job and not be in a comfort zone. I was just in the same mindset. The little money it was coming, it was fine. I couldn't see big, okay? And it also took a lot of time for me to learn. I did not know finances. I did not know how to maintain a cash flow document. And then 2021, IMB incubation happened. But even before that, I was like trying to pick up things. We had our website by then, and then we could run campaigns, and then people would buy from our website. And IMB helped me a lot. Like there were the peers whom I met. Somebody taught me how to do the cash flow. And you won't believe the toughest thing I've ever done in my life is for 2 months I had to sit and dig out all expenses and all incoming cash inflow of the last 4 years. that is crazy hard, taking out statements, card statements, bank statements, UPI, and then remembering what is this that I spent for, right? Because you need to get a hang of that. Like, and that's where I learned unit economics, learned marketing, how your ROI works. Uh, Starting something is the easiest thing, to be very honest. But once you start to kind of sustain it and to make it big, you need so many other things. You need to learn it. For me, IMB really helped that as a kind of platform. It really helped me. And it helped me shoot up. Like the period that I was in IMB, I grew by 10x. I mean, because anyway, in the beginning, I was not doing much. And then year by year, there was growth. And then came big goals like, office space, Shark Tank, and then more marketing, bigger team. Yeah, and then we have a store now also. We recently opened our physical store, and it's beautiful. Like, see, for me, it's all about passion. And when said na the first time, like the pitch also talks about that feeling, right? Like, let's say randomly you're walking on a street and a butterfly comes and sits on your shoulder. You feel so beautiful, like you feel amazing. When you watch those beautiful sunsets, you feel amazing. That's that feeling I want to kind of make people get when they interact with Leafy Affair. So the store is a reflection of that, like the kind of aesthetics and the kind of decor that we've done and all of that. So yeah, I mean, now I can see that project coming into life in real. A store is a whole different feeling. So yeah, that's where we are. The focus kept changing.
Got it, got it. Wow. So where is the store? I'm curious before I go to
This
the
store is in JP Nagar, Bangalore. It is very close to Vega City Mall. You can just type in Leafy Affair and you will find it.
Awesome, awesome. So definitely going to go and visit it sometime soon whenever I
Oh,
can.
yes.
So yeah, so I want to go back to touch upon, like, because you mentioned like these are the trouble, like, these are the things one struggles with. So
Hmm.
like, while starting up, because you just start something, you start seeing what is the response. One thing is you do not pay so much attention to the, how you said, like what was the hisab, or like, the calculations, and you had to go
Hmm.
back and kind of revisit them.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of things like unit economics and things like that are not like, if you're not coming from a business background, you may not understand a lot of these things. And so if you had to say, like, do it again, what are the things, like, what is your advice to, like, people who are doing their own startups, or women who are doing their own startups, and
Yeah,
uh,
I think we have to take multiple steps back. See, the first thing is to start. Why do you start? The why, it's so important. I think whole startup culture is so romanticized lately, and even because of Shark Tank and everything. So every other person wants to start up just because it looks rosy, right? But that why is so important. Or there are people who feel like their job is not working out, so they want to start to get rid of the whole job scenario. Like it might be anything. It might be a toxic boss. It might be long working hours. It might be the money. It can be anything. But a startup cannot fix your problems. If you're trying to start up and your why is because you feel like the startup will bring you something that you don't have currently in your life, or it's going wrong in your life, trust me, that is the wrongest reason to start. um, but if you're starting to really, if you're passionate about a problem statement that you want to solve, if you are, let's say, willing to learn something and it is coming out of curiosity, that is what's going to drive you. Because I can tell you the number of times that I have in this span thought of, oh, I want to give up, or I want to quit, oh, what is this? It's many, okay, maybe at least 1,000 times. I mean, the span of 8.5 years. But what kept me going is because there's something more for me in it. It was giving me a kick because it was something I was so passionate about. And every time the customers have interacted with products or have even seen the photos, it would bring a wide smile on their face because it was something they've never seen before. And all the other things that it was giving me a lot of freedom with my own time and things. Those were all extra perks that happened over time. In the initial period when I said I was moonlighting, I was working in my job and all my evenings and weekends for about 6 to 7 months, while my friends or cousins, they were all having fun, was to just work on this. But also, I was so excited after work to go back and sit on this. I was so excited to spend my weekends doing this. There was that drive. But if you're thinking, oh, you want to enjoy more, you want more leaves, and then you start a startup, no, it's not going to work. Okay. So I think the why is super important. And then I think to get like, there's so many, it's important to get a mentor. You can have a mentor who can guide you with what are the first step, because each business is different, each entrepreneur is different, each problem and the solution that you're coming up with is different, each industry is different, right? So having a mentor will help. And also mending those basic skills. I think there are a lot of videos about like unit economics, and then about marketing, about social media. See, social media now is like the biggest marketing tool that is out there, and it's free. Like, you got to post things that are more engaging and gets the eyeballs. Learn about that, and then just be aware of what's going on in the outside. Right now, AI is picking up so much that even I'm not able to kind of keep in track. I'm not able to, today there's something happening, tomorrow there's something totally new, and I'm not a tech person. So, but then, keeping in touch with the current ongoing trends or whatever is happening, that'll help. And then always find that area that you want to work at. Like, you find a very passionate area. It can be anything, but find a passionate area. Don't go behind things thinking, oh, this is what is going to get me a lot of profit, this is what's going to get me a lot of profit, or this is something I know, I'll just do this and then maybe it'll work out. No, like, do a lot of research. It's okay to spend time on finding the right idea. It's okay to spend time on doing a lot of trial and error, but once you get on, you need to work on it no matter what comes. So spend a lot of time in the initial part, I would say.
Wow. Okay. So to put it in perspective, you're saying do a lot of research, do a lot of trial and error, find your why essentially,
Yeah,
find why you want to do it, and not necessarily because, like, something else is not working out and you will be your own
yeah.
boss, kind of a thing.
See, I'm telling this now, but there are a lot of people who've done that, and they just done in 3 4 months. They go back to what they were doing before, and they'll just say, "Oh, it did not work out." Everything can work out. Trust me, everything can work out. I was a simple girl who started this, and what I'm doing now, and anybody can do this. But just there's so many things. Like, you should be open to networking. You should be open to learn. Uh, Anybody can teach you. It can be any person from anywhere, any age. Be open to learning. Don't have blocks, and yeah, finding the why.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit more about your journey with IMB, and specifically that women startup program that you were a
Yeah.
part of,
Yeah.
and how that kind of network, or like, I think you're pushed into a place where there are all of these startup founders who are trying to figure it out, and how that space
Mhm.
helped along with the
Yeah.
formal education.
Yeah, recently I had my full circle because I was invited to kind of take a session for the WSP program, and it really felt like a full circle. So, what happened is, entrepreneurship is such a lonely journey. I don't know how it is now in this year of 2024, but back in 2016, 2018, 19, it was so lonely for me because all my friends were working, they had a job. The people I knew who had done some business would be some older uncles or something, and obviously you can't really connect with them. That was the thing. And also in the initial phases, you don't get a lot of money. Also, it's not like you have a big motivation, right? All you have is learning, learning, learning. So when I got into IAMB, what was amazing was in my cohort there were like 210 other women, all of them in various different stages. Actually, I was in a more advanced stage of my startup. Others were like starting with an idea just at that time. It was a great platform for me to know, okay, there are other people doing it and everybody's struggles are almost similar, we're all on the same boat and yet different, so having that community helped. And there were a lot of mentors coming in and taking sessions. We could talk to founders who've done big, and they were kind of giving us some sessions about small things, marketing, about product packaging, branding, so many things. All these helped. And also, I think any of these programs, it's what you take from it. It's the same program for everybody. Doesn't mean everybody, after 5 years lands at the same position, right? What you take away from these programs. But for women who want to try or start something new, I think it's a great platform to try. Yeah. And also, it's little hard to get in. Yeah, because your idea, like even there, like Shark Tank, you got to do a video pitch, you got to do like pitching, and then do like a presentation and all of that. But try it. I mean, it's worth taking a shot.
Wonderful. And if you could talk a little bit more about your journey, specifically as a woman founder, is it difficult? Is it easy? Does it play any role as such, or like is it difficult
Um,
for?
yeah. I mean, just being women in itself, like so many challenges, right? Being in the work culture or in the startup culture. Um, I mean, I find it definitely different. The kind of opportunities. See, in the beginning, for me, it was the age and also the fact that I was a woman. Like, if I need to go and, let's say, a product packaging vendor, right? And to speak about rates, and then that I'll give you a big order, negotiate. Like, there's no trust. One thing is you're young, and then nobody would listen to you, and the other thing is you're a woman, right? And definitely challenging. But I think that glass ceiling is being broken lately because a lot of women leaders, women mentors, and I also see very less women mentors. Um, in this kind of a scenario, I don't know how to find words to it, but we are vulnerable. What I mean to say is, I myself have had experiences, be it when I was working or later, where I find someone so respectful, so elder, that I would go to them to seek some knowledge. But there's always a different, it's like give and take, right? They're always expecting something else, and there might be a lot of different interests. And so that has made me always very difficult for me to kind of go and approach any mentor or anybody in the field to kind of ask for advice or anything. You don't know what comes out of it. So there is that. That's been my personal experience. But slowly, I'm really happy to see so many women leaders, so many women mentors. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It is there.
Yeah. But I think like in that scenario, I think reaching out to like maybe women founders, being a part of like a community like Women Startup Program at IIM Bangalore can help and build that strong network of support.
Sure, sure. See, having said that, there are also a lot of wonderful people who are there to help. Like both my mentors are men, and they're older, and they have helped. They've like literally held my hand and helped me grow. Right. So a lot of learnings from them. So, but being a part of a community, having a mentor you trust will help you find paths. They'll be like this lighthouse where they'll just put light on which way you can go, and you can see, and you will, walk that path, the path that you choose. So,
Yeah. So tell me, what is the most challenging part of being the founder now, like, of a startup
I think
and
Yeah, the
What are the
team.
problems that you're dealing with? What are the
Yeah,
solutions that you're looking at? Like,
right. So, it's the team, kind of being the leader. Like, it's a big responsibility. It's like having kids, but you have multiple of them, and you're responsible for their career, their learning, and also you're responsible for your company, right? Like you have these people so that the work is done and the company goes somewhere, and that is dependent. Their career and their growth is also dependent on that. So it's a lot on your shoulders. That's like the most challenging thing. um, but and then I've understood it's a cycle and there will be people coming going. But when I had to lose or let go of my first ever employee who worked with me for a long time, I thought it was the end of the world, because I thought, oh, now my company is going to shut, I don't know what to do, because this person is to take care of so many things. But then now I have done that cycle 4 or 5 times at least, so many people coming in, going out. But it makes you feel like, okay, your company is dependent on something, somebody, and if that brick is removed, everything shakes and falls down. It is actually not like that. And that was the most hardest thing. Even now it's really hard every time I have to hire and go through that entire process. And there have been instances of employees cheating, not doing the right thing. But now I think I'm slowly kind of getting used to it. But yeah, people and team is a really hard thing. Maybe for others, there are people for whom this might be the easiest thing. I don't know, but for me, this was the hardest challenge.
people management, training them, like keeping the team happy, core happy, and
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, that's I think of fair
You
enough.
train people, and then there's so much that you put in, and then they leave, and then you have to, again start from square one. From the scratch, you need to train and again do the whole drill again. So that will keep going on. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. So what does your day look like as a founder, or what does your week look like, and how do you kind of focus, because you have to be on top of a lot of things. So how do you go about planning your time?
To be very honest, this routine as a founder, right? It's not like every other day this only happens, because there's so many life changes in the personal front also that happens. And now, right now, I'm trying to rebuild my routine. I think for me, it's very important. In a day, every day is different, by the way. Every day is different. No 2 days in this last 8.5 years have been same. So you can imagine every day is different. There's like so many other different things to do. But I make sure of a few things. um, I mean, this is very off the whole work thing. I make sure I am well fed and the people around me are well fed, because trust me, food is very important. I know a lot of people who do not eat when they're like really working, but I make sure I'm fed. I know it sounds weird, but yeah, I make sure I get my at least 8 hours of sleep, 7 to 8 hours, let's say. And also it's very important to take a little time out in the morning to plan your day or plan your agenda of whatever is going to happen. I try to do that on a Sunday for the entire week, and then also on a daily basis. And then making my bed, I mean, that's something I've always whether I do it, somebody does it, but bed has to be made. Okay, so there's that. And then taking some time for yourself, not just planning for the day, but then kind of um, get clarity with your thoughts. Where you're going, what does the next 1 month look like? No, what does the next 3 months at least look like? Or what does the different quarters look like? When there are two different fronts to it. One is the work front, because you are looking forward for the company's growth, like this quarter, next quarter, what is happening, that is different. But also personally, like what are some things that you want to do. Having hobbies is so important. I've recently now started to have a lot of hobbies which I never had in my entire life, but so important to take your mind off of things. Yeah, so these are like a very small few things, but very important. And having some self discipline when it comes to like how you are, how you, this entire routine is a discipline thing, right? When you wake up early, or having a shower and all the things. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, focusing on self-care, making sure like you're kind of connected in that
Yeah.
sense. If
Also, one more thing I forgot to add. I try hard to meditate, but that's something I'm still learning. But I do journal a lot. I journal a lot, at least weekly thrice. Uh, I try. Journaling really helps. And before going to bed, me and my husband, we talk about how the day was and what was like, what were the good things about the day. Even if the day was really bad, we try to find those little good things. Most like, practicing gratefulness. So that also really helps set a new, it's like the next day is a new beginning. So practicing gratefulness is also very good. Journaling is as good as being, meditating. I feel that that's the kind of feeling it gives me. So
no, those are wonderful, I think, practices. And if you're able to take out time and like, because that's the way you can be 100% present for your other, endeavors at work. So I think it's important that you pointed that out specifically with the activities that can be done to like, inculcate like that self-care and
yeah.
yeah. So and I think going back to planning again, so like, so I want to go back to your Shark Tank pitch now, and like, you went with a particular focus of what you wanted to ask. I want
Hmm.
you to kind of break it down for us, what maybe your revenue was, what your company was doing at that point, what was your ask,
Yeah, I
and
don't remember now, but yeah. So see, the thing is, I've always bootstrapped my company. Even today, it's bootstrap. Never really seeked investment anywhere. But I was really keen about Shark Tank mainly because of the kind of exposure it gives. I mean, I'll be very honest about it. But you can't go out there thinking I just want exposure, because the show is all about investment, right? So and then I did not know how investments work, or how does it even like what, equity, and then okay, suddenly you're bootstrapping and suddenly like a big chunk of money comes in. What do you do with it? Because you're so used to bootstrapping. Trust me, it's a struggle. So for me to kind of change that mindset, my mentor used to grill me really hard, asking, okay, you're gonna ask for 1 CR or 50 lakh. What are you gonna do with it? I want to know every rupee how you're gonna spend with that. Okay, that's when I had to go back and work. Okay, I'll hire this many team members. I'm gonna put this much money in marketing extra, and then I'm gonna put this much money in product development. These things you don't think, but then I had to backtrack and work on that. I think at that time I was doing like revenue around 20-25 lakhs per month, something like that. Uh, yeah, like the year before that, like the revenues we showed, we did like 1 CR revenue. Around one or something that year. Then the next year we did around three, and then the last year we did five, a little above five. So we've been growing, right? And then, but also to understand how things work, how somebody grows, how when you put like a good chunk of money, what comes out, what happens, all that was a mental exercise that I had never done before. I did it because of Shark Tank, so that helped. Um, yeah.
so what is your projected revenue now, and what
See, so at this, a business will have its ups and downs, right? Right now, I'm in a junction where I am finding a bigger purpose for the company. We are going like there's so many things, right? Like it's not just revenue growth, and the D2C industry as such has become so competitive, and I was just recently having this conversation with someone else as well. Like, I really like marketing. I enjoy it, like the kind of content we do, the campaigns we do. But somewhere, because of all this algorithm and then the competition and everything, I am starting to not enjoy it so much. So we're trying to like find things and really redo everything. So we're at this phase of, what do you say, like a change where we're again figuring out things. So business is all about always about figuring out. But right now, I think we're strongly in that phase. I mean, we project to grow. I mean, we have been growing on a continuous basis. We are going to grow next year as well. Like we project anywhere around 8 to 10 cr. But more than that, like how we do things, what we're doing, we are in a phase of figuring out.
So, Supriya, I think we've spoken a lot about like your journey so far as an entrepreneur, as a bootstrapped entrepreneur, trying to make things work, and if you could talk a little bit more about scaling up the startup and what are the three, four things. I know we've spoken about some of the milestones that have happened, but how do you as an entrepreneur think about scaling your startup, and what are the things that you should keep in mind, if you could help us with that?
Right. So scaling up, as I said, about 2016 to 19, I did not really focus on all of that. But it was a whole mindset thing. When I was 24-year-old, I started this, and then I was making them myself, by the way, the products. And then I was not producing same design multiple pieces. I was, my mentor, in fact, asked me this question. Hey, like, how will you cater to, let's say, 100 customers, 1,000 customers? I said, I will make that many designs. I am creative. Okay. And then over the time is when I realized that it is very important because, see, you're using social media to put it out there, and then you sell that one piece, but then people are coming back and asking, I want the same thing. And also, the kind of effort that you put for that particular design becomes lesser. See, what I was doing in the initial stages was behaving behaving like a hobbyist, and doing it for my own, let's say, creative pleasure rather than doing it as a business. But that was a very short period. Very soon I realized, no, this is not the way to go. You need to be able to replicate things with lesser effort. So what I mean is, some in a D2C, let's say you have a brand of a product or something, you need to be able to replicate the same thing with in the same design, the same kind of QC, the quality, so that your effort becomes less. Like the one post, let's say, that I would put on Instagram back then, it was just post the photography. I don't have to shoot every other product. If I shoot once for one particular design and write content or the story for it, like a product description, that's only that much effort I need to put for that particular design, right? So you need to be able to replicate this effort. And so that is one of the important enlightenment that I got in the initial stages, and that helps you scale up, where you are including lot more designs, including things that people want. And it's also very important to scale down at times. It's important to say no to things at times. Before, I used to, as I said, create the products myself. So there used to be a lot of these customization requests. Hey, I have this flower. I want you to add this some message inside the bottle. I want to do this. I want to do that. But then after a point, I had to say no, because when a business model includes customization, it is very hard to scale up. You can put that time in coming up with 4 or 5 new designs that will bring you lots of revenue, as opposed to taking in this customization request. And I experienced quite a few things. Like, I would have done quite a few customizations, and the customers sometimes really do want the sky and the stars and the moon, and it's a never ending thing. And each customization project, though it's a small thing, it can drag to months because of back and forth. That's something I never really enjoyed, and I wanted to focus on one thing, so I said no to that. And then there have been times where we had to consciously scale down to figure out something. So it's like, entrepreneurship in a business, you take 2 steps forward, but you take 1 step back. Sometimes you take 5 steps forward, you might take 10 steps backward as well. So it's never a single curve that goes up like a proper hyperbola, like just keep going up. It is like the ECG, up and down, sometimes more down, sometimes more up. It's about how you balance it out. And for somebody who is like really passionate about the business, like I was like so attached that whenever there's a downtime, it would affect me so much. I would become all sad, and then I don't know why I don't enjoy life. I'm not smiling or laughing. It's very important to also detach yourself. I still find it hard, I think, to do. But yeah, I mean, business becomes a whole different entity, and it is going to breathe on its own, and it is going to have its own ups and downs. You are definitely a big part of it. You are kind of taking it in a direction, but you need to be there when it goes down. You need to make a million decisions on a constant basis, right? Every other day, be it what kind of people to choose, what kind of colors to choose, what kind of flowers to choose. So many decisions, but you have to be there, but it is going to take its own journey, own sweet time.
I think this is very interesting. I found it very helpful to kind of visualize and think about the journey in that sense of like, how do you start with probably like your product also. I look at it as a limited edition kind of a thing, and
Yeah.
how it kind of becomes like a scalable commodity, and and then as you said that the business will have a life of its own, and take its own trajectory. So that's very interesting to follow. And you did mention something that I want to tap in a little bit more about, as you did mention that how not to take things personally in that sense, because
Yeah.
if there are bad days and if the products are not selling for a certain period of time. So I think
Hmm.
my next question was actually to ask you, what has been your biggest failure or setback, and how did you kind of deal with it? Because you know when everything is going well, or you're building onto something, it works out smooth, and the picture from inside outside everywhere it's rosy. But when you're dealing with hard times, what has kept you going, and what were those hard times?
See, it's this, business or entrepreneurship, it's a long stint. It's not a short project or a short stint, right? So now also, it's been 8.5 years, and so much life happens. In life, so many things happen, but this is going to be very different because for me, in personal life, there have been like a lots of, lot of up and down and some periods of really lowness. So at all those times, it's Leafy Affair that's kept me going, to be very honest.
Wow.
The challenges or the failures that came in the business is always, see, it does make you feel sad, but it never really hurts, or it never really impacts you the way what happens in your personal life. Because this is still a business, it's still a career thing. If not this, tomorrow you will do something else, because it's your learnings stay with you and all of that. So Leafy Affair has really helped me with that. And Leafy Affair has helped me gain a lot of respect and validation. And yeah, we were talking about that as well. Um, and in business, the failures, it's always been logical. You cannot, there's no place for emotions here. You have to make logical decisions. In fact, so much that, see, it's a living organization. It's kind of like something that breathes, right? Like you have employees. Employees are filled with emotions. Customers, it's a lot of humans, right? And what you are eliciting with your products are emotions at the end of the day. But you have to make logical decisions. This took me a while to kind of really get it in me that I cannot be emotional. So it becomes a very logical thing. So it's fine. I mean, the failures or the challenges, you take it up as just one other thing. You cover your bases first. I have just this one way of going about when anything comes. I think about the best case scenario and worst case scenario. Okay. And I try to cover my base for the worst case, like the worst of the worst that you can imagine. Once you cover your base for your worst case scenario, there's also something recently I learned from my husband. He does it so well. Cover your worst case scenario. Think of, okay, tomorrow if this happens, what are the things I'm going to do? Am I capable to do that? Do I need more resources, or do I need to do things today so that if tomorrow, if worst case scenario happens, I'll be prepared? So always prepare for that. Then almost always till now, never ever a worst case scenario has happened. So if there's like a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst case and 0 being the best case, somewhere the problem is always around 3, 4, max 5 or 6, not beyond that. But then preparing for 10 like makes you strong and you won't feel like it's a big thing. From the outside it might look as such a big challenge, but you would really be able to kind of deal with it like a superman. So
Wow, wow, wonderful. I think this was really helpful, and yeah, something to kind of prepare for the worst case scenario, and that helps you probably be in that best case scenario in that sense.
yeah,
Um,
I mean it's I mean, who would want the worst case scenario, right? Even the thought of it is like very scary
Scary.
and sad and everything, but keep it aside, think logically, think how you can solve it. I
Right,
think
right.
also this attitude has helped me because whenever something comes, I look for solutions. What can we do? How can we do this? And then later go kind of vent about it and then think, oh, where did it come from? So many times when something happens, we spend a lot of time thinking, how did this happen? Array, however it happened, it has happened now. You need to solve it. And then you can go think about how, where, when. There'll be a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so my last question to you, almost the last, and then we'll get into recommendations, is because you followed your curiosity, you went to do this whole journey of like making a startup out of a hobby, if I may say so, and
Actually,
now,
no, I would like to correct that. It was not a hobby. It was still a passion thing. But then
okay,
after I started making, I was like, no, I don't want to make because see, I'll tell you, because I was making it myself, I didn't like repeating things. To do the same thing, it was not fun for me. So I was like, no, no, I'll do something new only because I'm having fun making new things. So yeah, like, but the mentality was like a hobbyist mentality. You know what I mean?
okay, okay, interesting. So what are the new hobbies that you've picked up now?
Oh,
I'm curious.
yeah. So I play a lot of board games, watch a lot of TV. So yeah, just a lot of things, games and doing other things. I also started painting small things like A4. I've never really painted much because whenever, even if somebody gifted crayons or paints, my mom would keep it somewhere hidden, saying, "You're not grown enough for this. I will give it
Yeah.
to you later." And when the time comes, it's not even in a shape to use it or something like that. And yeah, I am enjoying all these hobbies now.
Wow, okay, okay. I think last, like, do you want to touch upon something that you had mentioned to me about moonshot or something, which a space
Oh
that you are trying
yes,
to create, and
yeah.
you
So,
could
yeah,
talk.
I have a big creative block there, but I saw this page called Her Moonshot because I strongly feel so close about inspiring women and really helping them find their, reach for their moonshot, reach for their dreams. So it's right now just an Instagram page, but maybe tomorrow it's going to become a book, something else. But I want to post a lot of content there. I've started, this is some basic content there. Right now, really figuring out how to package, all this motivation and put it out there so that it really reaches the women or, the right kind of audience. It's called Her Moonshot. Do check it out. And yeah, I think every woman out there be at least should be given the opportunity to kind of chase her dreams. It's so important because the dreams are your savior. Like there's no prince in shining armor, but it's your dreams that will save you. So yeah.
Wow, I think that's wonderful. I will check out this page, and I think it will help a lot of women entrepreneurs also, because it is a lonely journey, as you mentioned, and you kind of need the right guidance and support system. So thank
Yeah.
you for sharing, Supriya, all of these like insights, and thank you for being so candid. And the last bit is you have to recommend some films, TV shows, games if you want to, or like that or books if you feel like. So what are your learning recommendations or fun recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, books I already mentioned, 4 Hour Work Week, Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I think these recommendations you'd see everywhere. There are a few more books. I think it's the the six effective hobbies of the most successful people, something like that. I don't know why I don't remember the name.
Okay.
But however, I think board games, like there are amazing board games that can mend your strategy skills. There's something called as Istanbul, Catan. Thanks to my friends who introduced them to me, I've been enjoying those. Yeah, yeah. These are some of my recommendations. But also, like, really try to enjoy life. Try to find those little pockets of fun things or good things about a day, even if your day is not going great. Yeah, I wish everyone really gets to chase their dreams, as I mentioned, and really enjoy life to their fullest.
That's so wonderful. That's a wonderful note to end on. So thank you, Supriya, for taking out so much time and talking so candidly and giving all of these, like, recommendations and learnings and insights.
Thank you, Palak. It's been a wonderful little chat.